You're listening to the Align and Inspire podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Monique, and in this episode, I want to show you how you can take a week off in your business without feeling like everything is going to be fires in the background or feeling even worse, like you are going to let your clients down. So this episode is, I'm recording at the time of recording. I am just back from a week off for spring break with my children and my family. And I wanted to record this episode for you because I really struggled when I first it lasted a long time. But when I went into my business full time, as my full-time income, I've been full-time in my business for a number of years now, but on part-time hours, of course, because I still have little kids at home. But I really struggled with being able to take time off. And just to give you a little bit of a context around what my model looks like and why this was the case, the reason I want to share this is because you might resonate with it. And maybe not. Maybe you can take time off very easily. But I know a lot of us really struggle to feel like you should always be working, or if you're not working hard enough, you won't bring money in, or what if you let your clients down? What if you're not doing enough for them? So that's something that I really struggled with, because when I was running my teaching mentoring program, I followed a similar model to what I do now, which is I have new cohorts coming in regularly. So my courses or my programs are asynchronous. So I have people coming in at different times in different cohorts, and they're all in the same group. And the reason I love this is it creates more consistent incomes for me rather than having a big launch a few times a year. I do it more regularly. And I love it because people who have been in the program a little bit longer can show newer members what's possible for them. And it gives my members who have been in the program longer more support. So like one of my clients has been with me, I think maybe since, it's March now, maybe since September. And now she has her program and it's running well, but she has more people who want to work with her. And so our next challenge that we're working through is she going to bring them into this current cohort? Is she going to do a new one? Is she going to create a different offer? What's that going to look like for people who still want to work with her, right? So I love being able to offer it like this because I can give continued support to people who have been with me longer, and people who are just joining can learn from more experienced members in the group, right? But the challenge with it, and I did the same thing with my teacher mentoring program, the one that I ran before I ran what I do now, which is signature program design, is that because I have regular calls, when I was working with teachers, never felt like I could take time off. So the challenge that I created for myself, in retrospect, it didn't feel like I created for myself, but I offered weekly calls, right? And I had weekly calls with teachers. And the challenge for me was that if I took a week off, I felt like they weren't getting their money's worth. That I said that I would do 4 calls a month. And if I took a week off and I didn't do that call, then I would be shortchanging them. And so for honestly, probably 2 years, I never took time off except maybe the week of Christmas. Like even if I was technically on vacation, for summer with my kids and things like that, I may have taken time off in my business generally, but I still ran my calls, or we planned vacations around my calls. So my calls are usually on a Tuesday. So we would leave like a Wednesday to Sunday or something like that. I never, ever took a week off from doing my coaching calls. And in retrospect, that was a little extreme, but I think I had a lot of money mindset stuff. And I really felt like I would be letting them down and it wouldn't be fair if I took time off, which I knew logically that didn't make sense, but I couldn't think of a way around it. So I have set my business up a little bit differently now so that I can take some time off. And I want to share 5 big ideas with you to help you take time off in your business without feeling like it's going to burn down, without feeling like things are going to explode in the background if you take time off. Even if you are a smaller business, even if you're newer in business, even if you're a solo entrepreneur, I want to give you some ideas in this episode so you don't go 2 weeks with that or 2 years without ever taking a full week off in your business. So the first big idea that I want to share, and I'm going to share some from that experience when I was working with teachers and some from this current week off, because even in this week off, I have learned new lessons that I'm going to be doing differently going forward. But the first big idea is that when you set up your coaching experience, so I teach signature programs. So what I teach my students how to do is how to run a group coaching program that also has core content or a core curriculum that people follow. So there's group coaching, there is a core content that people can follow that you might include in your program. You might have one-on-one or different kinds of implementation strategies, things like that. So it's a unique program to you, and it's a little bit more high touch than just a straight up DIY course, right? So that's what I help my clients create. And because my program has one-on-ones and it has group coaching, that's one of the challenges to taking time off, because it's not like a course that I've set up once and people just watch the videos for, right? It's a little bit more personalized. So the thing that I realized going back is that I said to my teacher clients that I would give them 4 coaching calls a month. So that meant they were weekly. And so that meant that I never felt like I could take time off. So now with Signature Program Design, I do 3 calls a month, and then I take an implementation week, and then 3 calls, and then a week off, and then 3 calls and a week off. The reason I like this is for me, if I need space in my schedule if I want to go away with my kids for spring break, or I want to take time off for some reason in my business, or anything personal, I have that freedom within that week. People are expecting there to be a blank week or a week off from coaching calls when they join my program. So I feel like I've set that expectation up from the get-go. The other reason I like it, because I always like to think about it from an intentional, like, how is this going to help my students perspective? I really like it because it gives you a chance to implement what we've been talking about. So in that week off, if you've been feeling like, oh, I'm feeling behind, or I feel like I need to catch up on something of the lessons or something like that, you can use that time that way. The other reason is sometimes I book a lot of my one-on-one calls with my clients. So I do monthly one-on-one calls with my clients. They're 30 minutes long. A lot of times people book their one-on-ones in that week off so that they have something to kind of buffer it. And I can do a lot of one-on-ones in that week because I'm not creating any content or any extra for my clients for my coaching, right? So it helps my clients and it really helps me. So the first big idea is, if you are wanting to set yourself up for some time off, when you go to create your program, build it into your schedule so your students and clients have that expectation going forward. So if you're taking one-on-one clients, for example, and you have weekly meetings with them, you might say, like, when they book with you, you could say, hey, and I'm taking this week off, or this week is not available, but then I'll be back the next week. So when they're joining you, they already have that expectation. Or if you have a group, you set that up from the get-go. So maybe you already know what your vacations are in advance. I'm not that kind of person. I like to have a little more freedom, but just giving them that expectation of, it's not going to be, you're not going to be available all the time, but here is the support I am going to give you. So setting up those clear expectations and allowing yourself a little bit of space and not feeling like you have to be on all the time. And truly, that was a lesson I really had to learn myself. I struggled with it for a long time. The next big idea that I want to share is the idea of multiplying yourself. Because to be able to take time off without feeling like you're leaving your clients in the dust, the more you can feel like there are resources available to them or support available to them without you having to be on all the time, the more you're going to feel like, okay, I can take some time off, even if it's not even just a week. Maybe you're working evenings and weekends right now, and you want to take some time off in the evenings. If you can multiply yourself, you don't need to feel like you're always the one who is on. So that might look like, if you have a group coaching program and you don't have any core content that you feel people can follow on their own without you being there, maybe that's something that you want to focus on, is creating that core content, that core curriculum that people can go through on their own So they don't always have to learn from you. And I even like to encourage my clients to say coaching calls are like implementation time. Like we're working through things. I don't do as much teaching on my coaching calls, but I will say to people, even if we're going to talk about a specific theme for that week or something like that, I'll say, you can take a look at module 3.2 or lesson 4.4 or whatever before we do our coaching calls. So they can do the learning before they come to the coaching calls, right? So the more you can multiply yourself. So maybe that is having that core content that I was talking about. Maybe it is having a Facebook group community that you really grow and nurture so that your clients will support one another in your Facebook community. It doesn't always have to be you, and you really facilitate that kind of community aspect. So you're not always the one answering questions, but they support each other in the Facebook community. Just brainstorming ways for your program not to just be focused on if you're not there and you're not giving your time, it's not valuable. It's more about creating a program that people can get results from it without you doing it. So what can you do once that you can use multiple times? I like to think about when I create something, can I use this 3 times or more, right? So multiplying yourself whenever possible, having that core content, having different ways so that your clients can get support without you always having to be on. And the other thing I'll share about this is this can be a tricky one, especially if you are used to having a one-on-one practice of some sort. Maybe you're a therapist, maybe you do one-on-one coaching, maybe you are some sort of in the health space and as a dietitian or a fitness coach or something like that. And a lot of times, if that's you, you might be used to not charging per hour and thinking of value as how many hours you spend with someone rather than how the result is that you are helping them achieve. Because when it's results oriented, it's not about the number of hours you put in. It's about what you can make happen for them. And it doesn't necessarily have to depend on your energy. So that's something mindset wise to consider is if you're struggling with it, it might be because you're pricing your work hourly or by how many hours you're doing and how much energy you're putting in rather than based on the transformation that you're helping your clients achieve. Does that make sense? So that's the second big idea is to multiply yourself. The next one that I want to share that honestly I learned, I kind of knew, but this is the lesson I'm really taking away from this week off is having someone to take care of your emails. So we just finished up a workshop and I have 5 new clients this month, which is so exciting. And we have my existing clients and we have new people coming into the program, which is fantastic. But the thing about having more clients and new clients coming in is you are inevitably going to have more customer service. Maybe your clients signed up with an email that's different than the one you had on file and you need to switch it. Or maybe they are having login issues, or maybe there's a payment thing or something like that, right? And the more you can have someone to support you with your emails, the better if you're going to take a week off. Now, you don't have to. I know if you're listening, you might not have any VA support, but if you do, I would highly encourage you to talk to your VA or the customer service person that works with you and get really clear on how you're going to move through this week off, because that is something I didn't really do. I was like, I'm taking a week off. She was still going to work and answer emails, but I didn't really specify what I wanted, if she was going to look at my emails, how often I was going to look at my emails, things like that. And I have to admit that I would continue to check my email, even though I was like, I'm not supposed to. I need to be present with my kids. And they did not want me, obviously. I mean, I did not spend all that much time on my computer. I really, really didn't. But it made me feel stressed out when I came back to work today. I'm not going to lie, to deal with all my emails. So she's my launch manager and my client success support person, my VA. And she answered all of her emails, but then I had some of mine and I was forwarding them to her, the ones that she could answer. But then there were some that I feel like I kind of missed. And I don't really feel like I handled it all that well. I did have an autoresponder, but having really clear guidelines of how, when you take time off, what is your team going to do to support you? Are they checking email every day? Are they looking at your email and their email? How does that look? So for me going forward, I'm going to have my customer service person, client success person, look at my email and her email anytime I go away and making sure, because sometimes she takes time off and I pick up the slack for her, just so she can look at my email and her email so that I know everything's taken care of and my clients have what they need, rather than me feeling like, oh my gosh, what if I missed something, and having that like a nervousness as I came back to work on Monday. So that's the third big idea, is have someone to support you taking care of your emails if you tend to get a number of client support or customer support emails. The next big idea is to have a monthly and weekly rhythm and to plan ahead. Now, I say this with a caveat that you don't have to have like all your social media planned out and if you have podcasts or newsletters, or it doesn't have to be perfect. I did allow myself to take a little bit of space and not worry so much about the consistency that I usually like to create. But the more you can have a weekly and monthly rhythm in place, the more you're going to be able to say, okay, this is what I need to do each week. And you can plan backwards to make sure those things get done. So for example, I find that sometimes entrepreneurs are super creative, right? And you're used to creating different projects, but you might not have a rhythm of what you do every week or every month. So for me, with my clients, every Sunday, I send out a news or like an information kind of letter to my students, and they'll get like the link for the week. So they know they can sign. I mean, it's always the same link, but they have the calendar button, but they know that they have the Zoom link. It goes over what we're going to be talking about, how to submit a question, any replays, new content, all basically the information that they need for that week that they can kind of skim through. So that always goes out on Sunday mornings. So I know that goes out on Sunday mornings. So I batched them ahead of time. So I knew that on Sunday, last Sunday and this past Sunday, that my clients would still get their emails and they would know what's going on in the program. So that's one example of a weekly rhythm that I always follow. So I knew what I needed to get done in advance. Another thing are my podcast episodes. I would love to tell you that I batch my podcast episodes, but I don't really. I usually do them weekly, maybe 2 episodes. So I know I have that as part of my weekly rhythm. So I take a look and see when am I going to make sure I get that out so I can still maintain some of the consistency that is important to me in my business, and be it for marketing or for my clients. So the next big idea is to think about what are the things that I need to do monthly and weekly that I want to still maintain. So for example, for me, I do monthly workshops or webinars, masterclasses, however you want, trainings, whatever you want to call it. I do those monthly. So I make sure that those are planned in advance. And so I can still take a week off outside of that time. And my kind of rhythm for my business is getting more and more predictable, because I know, okay, this is when we're going to do our masterclass. This is when we're going to have our group coaching calls. We have a new bonus offer that's coming out called Signature Offer Kickstart, where it's looking at like what your program problem is that you're going to solve, is the transformation, how to price it, like really getting like the first foundational pieces in place. I know that's a new thing that's coming up, and I already know the dates for that in April. So I kind of have an idea of this is kind of like the monthly rhythm that I'm following. This is the weekly rhythm that I follow. So it's easier for me to find time for when I either want to take a week off based on my business schedule, or what are the main blocks that I know I need to have in place for my business. And I can plan them around my kids' schedule, which is what I did this time around spring break. The last big idea that I want to share is really about your money mindset, because you deserve a break without feeling like you are disappointing your clients. But the thing that I have really seen is getting clear on, it's not about the hours you put in, it is about the transformation you provide. And oftentimes, if you're struggling to take time off, it might be because you have some sort of money belief coming up that's blocking you. So it might be that you need, like we were talking about earlier, that you are billing by the number of hours you're doing rather than the transformation. Or it might be something along the lines of, in order for me to make more money, I need to work more hours, or I need to work harder to make money, or it's not possible for me to help other people and make more money. So thinking, even as you listen to me say that, see if any of those kind of come up for you, if those feel like truth for you, like you might have like kind of a physical reaction to, I need to work hard to make money, or I can't help people and make money. It's one or the other. Because if you have one of those beliefs, it's going to be hard for you to take time off. So I had both of them. I felt like I needed to work hard to make more money. And if I'm not working on my business isn't going to make enough money. And I thought that for me to really be able to help people and make money, like I was trying to do it, but then I had this kind of like cognitive dissonance that it didn't really feel fair, that if I really cared, I should be doing it for free. I don't know. A lot of people have that weird one. But if you feel that, it's going to be really hard for you to take time off in your business without feeling guilty about it. So the last big idea that I want to share is that giving yourself a break is possible, and you want to be able to kind of address some of those money mindset things that might be lurking under the surface that are stopping you from taking time off, even when like systems wise and structure wise, you have all those pieces in place. Like maybe you've got the VA taking care of your emails. Maybe you've got the rhythms. Maybe you've multiplied yourself. Maybe you've already set up the expectations for your clients, but what's stopping you is actually your belief system. Or maybe you haven't set up those breaks like me because you weren't even setting up that expectation because you have some layer of like guilt, or it's not okay to do that. So if you've got a lot of that structure in place already, I would love for you to think about maybe there's some sort of mindset block around money that's stopping you from really being able to take that time off out of fear. So when you can let that go and say, yes, you can make money and help people. And it's not about how many hours you work. It's really about the transformation you provide. It's going to be a lot easier for you to take time off in your business too. So let's wrap. I'm going to be honest. I wrote down my notes of which ones I wanted to say, and I put them in different orders. So it may be off as I share this with you. But the first big idea that we talked about was to have breaks in your schedule, setting up expectations right off the bat so that you can actually have space built in when people join your programs, join your one-on-one practice, whatever it is. So you have built-in space. So you don't have to say later and just feel like you're disappointing them. They already know that you're going to have some space in your calendar. That's the first big idea. The next one was to multiply yourself. So have that core content that people can work through, that you feel is really clear and well structured, so that, and if you need help with that, by all means, send me a message. That's what I do. But creating that core content that people can easily work through and can learn from you and take action from with you without you having to be on all the time. The next idea that we talked about was having a VA to take care of your emails and getting really clear on what her or their role is going to be in your business while you're away. That's my big takeaway from this past week. Having a monthly and weekly rhythm to plan ahead. And then the last big idea is to think about your money mindset. And do you have any beliefs coming up for you that are stopping you from taking time off? So I would love to hear if this episode was helpful, if it resonated with you. Send me a message at laurenmonique.business on Instagram, or better yet, leave me a review. I read all of them. I love to hear from you. And I will see you on next week's episode of the Align and Inspire podcast.